The Shadow Secretary for International Development, Lisa Nandy. Good morning. What should we expect for Starmer and Rayner announcing their local election campaign later today?
Well, we think that big promises were made to people across the whole of this country 4 years ago under the guise of levelling up, but very little has materialised. So we're promising to end this decade and a half of decline and start to put power back in the hands of working people. It's been a real struggle for a lot of people for far too long. They're facing a huge council tax hike in every part of the country coming in just a few weeks' time. And we think it's time to really empower our local leaders so that people in every part of the country can make a contribution again, and that for so many people for whom geography is destiny, we unlock that potential and start to rebuild this country again from the ground up.
Lisa, really good to have you on, and I mean that. Obviously, the situation in this country, local or general election, is that your party has transformed itself in the last 4.5 years from the disaster of Jeremy Corbyn to where you are today. Huge lead in the polls. But I know that the viewers and the listeners will still have doubts. Your words are great. Big promises were made. We need to deal with decline. We need to bring people in. Let's just have a look at some of the facts. That's all well and good, Lisa Nandy, but this country is £85 billion in debt. We've got the highest taxation in the last, 70 years. Our economy dips in and out of recession. Apparently everybody is up in arms. The truth is, there's no money. And what I need to hear from Labour, apart from non-dom, which was £3 billion, it's all well and good to talk about, let's all get together. That's all very nice. How are you going to pay for it, Lisa? Where's the money coming from?
Well, the short, simple and long-term answer is growth, economic growth. If you don't grow the economy, you can't do any of the things that we want to do and people in this country so badly need to see from us. We've set out, as you mentioned, a series of ways in which we think we could make fairer choices in this country, including ending the tax breaks on private schools so that there's a level playing field and so that we can unlock opportunity for children in every walk of life, and plans to scrap the non-dom tax status so that we can start to bring down the waiting lists in the National Health Service that are causing people such anguish. But this is the point of today's launch, is that we believe that the only way to genuinely grow the economy is by enlisting the talents of people and businesses in every part of the country. And that's why we're proposing to hand greater powers over housing, energy, transport,
levelling up then. Levelling up.
And Lisa,
what levelling up would have been? Yeah, exactly that.
Lisa, you mentioned they're putting power back into the hands of working people. Starmer is later going to announce a new Take Back Control Act. Can I ask, why are Labour co-opting a slogan that was written by Dominic Cummings?
Because it spoke to a sentiment that people in every part of the country felt that the world was spinning out of control, that they had very little ability to take charge of their own destiny, whether it was the future of your family, whether they faced the agonising choice to have to move hundreds of miles away to seek work and good wages and opportunity, or whether it was watching your high street decline and your community fall apart and the pubs close and the banks and the buses being cancelled. And we believe that making good on that promise is still important. This government appears to have given up on that, but we don't believe that that's the case. People deserve it, but this country can't survive unless we unlock the talents of people in every part.
I don't disagree with that, Lisa, and it is a really interesting thing because 4.5 years ago, the red wall crumbled to Boris Johnson. And the accusation to the Labour Party at that point was you'd taken the working man and woman's vote for granted and it was taken from under you. What I see with Starmer and the Labour Party, being really honest, is I'm not quite sure the difference between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak right now. I'm being completely honest. You're 20 points ahead in the polls. He's statesman-like, everything's fine. When you get to government, if you do, we have to be obviously honest about that, right? What about traditional socialist values? What about traditional Labour policies? Surely all those backbenchers and all those people from left-wing working class constituencies are going to be banging down his door saying, hold on a minute, we want a 30% rise. Hold on a minute, we want this, we want that. How is this statesman who paints a very lovely picture going to deal with that in the future? That's what people, I have to be honest with you, that's what people are worried about. That's a fact.
Well, I don't think you can question the fact that Keir Starmer has taken charge of the Labour Party and has been prepared to face up to his critics over and over again. The truth is that if you crash the economy, as Liz Truss did just a couple of years ago, it's working class people who pay a very heavy price and are continuing to pay it now. That's why we've said that economic stability and economic growth is our number one priority, because it's the rock on which everything else is built. That doesn't mean there aren't things that we can do to put power back into people's hands in every part of the country, including through our New Deal for working people, which will give people rights at work that they've needed desperately for so very long. And it's a very core principle as part of the Labour tradition. But growing the economy, economic stability, is absolutely our number one priority, and we make no apology for that. It's people's money and they haven't got a lot of it, and we'll be careful with every penny that we spend.
And Lisa, just quickly to ask you, Angela Rayner could be in hot water as the police are set to reinvestigate her over claims about her council tax and potentially breaking electoral law. Do you think this will achieve anything at all? Do you think it's more political spin from the Tories?
Well, she's been very clear that she hasn't broken any rules. She's taken legal advice and tax advice, as I understand it, and has said that these allegations are baseless. The Greater Manchester Police originally dismissed the investigation. I understand they've reopened it in response to a Conservative MP, but Angela is absolutely confident that she hasn't broken any of the rules. And it was only a couple of years ago that the Tories decided to launch allegations about breaking rules in lockdown towards Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner during local election campaigns that also turned out to be a nonsense. Angela's absolutely confident she hasn't broken any of the rules, and we're behind her.
And Lisa, just one final thing, really appreciate it. I've been waiting 2 years to say this to you, so it's really important. You were a rising star, stood for the leadership. I would suggest that you would expect and hope for more than international secretary when you apparently failed. I mean, I'm being serious. You were destined for the top. Are you not a little bit annoyed that you're... I mean, I'm not disrespecting your brief, but you'd have been hoping for a bigger job, wouldn't you, madam?
Well, I like to say that I've gone from levelling up the country to levelling up the world. I honestly couldn't imagine a bigger challenge, but one that I relish. I've been in every part of the world in the last 6 months, including in Israel and Palestine, where you can see the consequences for people right across the world, including here in the UK. And the only bit about my job title that I've hated for 14 years has been the word shadow. So I'm very much looking forward to dropping it.
I think that's one of the greatest answers I've ever heard and sums up entirely the job that Keir Starmer has done with the Labour Party. So you are saying to me on Talk Today that if you're offered the Foreign Secretary's role, you're going to say, no, I'm happy with International Trade Secretary or International Secretary?
Look, I've taken every job that I've been given on the front bench over the last 14 years and seen it as a privilege to serve. But for every one of those 14 years, I've made an argument in the House of Commons, I've walked around the division lobbies and I've lost. I'm determined that we're going to get into government, and if there's an opportunity to serve, it will be an absolute privilege to play a part in rebuilding this country.